And it was 1 year ago the deep freeze arrived in Texas, leaving millions of us in the dark. The power grid, as you know, held up during a milder freeze last week, but voters have yet to cast their ballots since that catastrophe. That'll be the first real test for Governor Greg Abbott. Grace White showing us how the freeze could affect his future. Grace?
When Texans go to the polls this year, will they remember the winter freeze? Beto O'Rourke is hoping so, and Governor Greg Abbott message to voters, he's fixed the problem.
It's been a year since temperatures dropped, demand for electricity soared, and 4.5 million Texas homes and businesses lost power. In this year's race for governor,
the Texas electric grid is more reliable and more resilient than has ever been.
Voters are faced with two competing narratives.
If we have a weather event like the one that we had last February, we are going to have a shortfall in energy capacity.
Beto O'Rourke making it one of the central focuses of his campaign.
We've got to make changes, positive ones, to ensure this never happens again. Weatherizing every part of the grid, connecting with the national grid, and then making sure that we assist ratepayers.
Let's talk about connecting to the national grid that you mentioned. A lot of energy experts say that's not realistic.
So I know that there is a responsible, common sense way to connect with the national grid, as almost every other state does, to make sure that we satisfy our needs here.
But O'Rourke's biggest challenge, the short-term memory of voters. Brandon Rottinghouse is a political science professor at the University of Houston.
The issue is that most voters are focused on COVID, the economy, and their pocketbooks. And the winter freeze, although it hits several of those notes, is something that's in their rearview mirror.
Working in Governor Abbott's favor, the power grid holding up during this year's Arctic blast.
We have no confirmed outages of any equipment related to weather.
Two bills have been signed into law since the storm, requiring power generators to winterize and reforming the state's grid operator, ERCOT. But critics say the new laws don't go far enough to ensure weatherization, leaving a loophole for natural gas companies to opt out.
There are still flaws in the system. I think what the governor's hoping is that those flaws aren't as pronounced and don't end up being front and center for voters.
The governor's campaign declined our request for an interview. Meantime, O'Rourke is on a statewide Keeping the Lights On tour. He's ending it tomorrow here in Houston. Grace White, KHOU 11 News.
We'll see how it plays out. Thank you, Grace.